welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at a refactoring technique called the wrap method. This is a technique that has been coined and spelled out in great detail in Michael Feather's great book called Working Effectively with Legacy Code. The basis of this refactoring method is to create the ability to extend a current method with new functionality, but to do so in a way that is not only more testable, but more refactorable and more maintainable in the future. In our example today, we're going to take a look at a relatively trivial but realistic example that's loosely based off of something we have in the Dimecast code base. This is not the exact code, it's just kind of an example to give us an idea. What we have here on screen is a method called createComment. CreateComment's job is to take in a comment value, convert that to an entity, and then persist it to the database. And it works as is. It works really great, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. But we want to add a new feature to this. We want it so that when a comment is created, that we also send an email to the originating author of that post so that we know a comment has been posted to their episode. Now, if I was going in and looking at this code as is, the first thing that a lot of people would probably do is say, well, you know what, I'd want to do everything kind of all at the same time. And since this is really my service layer, this is my entry point into my business domain, it makes sense that I'd come down here and, send email. And we'd add in the logic down here. Now, that might seem relatively simple and straightforward, but that's a problem because what you're doing is you're adding complexity to this method. You're decreasing the refactorability in the future. You're also just adding responsibility to what the createComment method is meant to do. Because up above, everything, this is all about one responsibility. Creating the ability to save a comment. Sending an email is a completely new responsibility. So what we want to do today is look at the wrap technique that will allow us to more simply add this functionality and do it in a safer, more maintainable way. Now the first thing we're going to do when starting this refactor and to create the wrap method is I want to take all this code and I want to move it out of the createComment. And the reason for that is the createComment will now have two responsibilities, and I want to make sure that I can segment my two responsibilities at least in two separate methods internal to my class. So let's go ahead and do the extract method, and we'll call this create and save comment. And the create and save comment will take in our DTO, and it will basically just perform all the logic. Now I want to do one extra thing here. I want this to return my comment. So we now have refactored this so that it is a separate method, and createComment just calls that method. Now I would like to go one step further. What I also want to do is make this protected virtual, because by making this protected virtual, I can do another testing technique where I create a stub of this, and I can actually test this method standalone to the public method that it's calling it. Now I understand that making things virtual does have a slight performance hit and does open up for later extensions for people if you don't want, but that's a choice I choose to make. Now the wrap technique comes in where I'm going to create now a second method here. We'll call this protected virtual send email to author, and this will take our comment and I can now come up here and do send email to author, save comment. So what I've effectively done is I've taken this new functionality, I've extracted it from the original location, I've moved it into its new method, and wouldn't go a couple steps further here in a second. But now I've basically set it up so that my createComment just wraps all the various things that it needs to do, but it really is only calling off into other methods. And these other methods could be in other objects, they could be other namespaces, they could be anywhere you want. But this createComment just wraps them for us. Now to go ahead and fill this out, what I'd want to do is do something like this. Repository dot, and I'd want to do something like get episode author. Call into some method to get the episode author information. We'll go ahead and create this. And we'll just fill this out real briefly. And I've already got a email provider, so email. We won't actually fill this out. We don't really care because the intent of this is to explain the refactor technique of wrap method. So if we step back to the original intent of this is to extend the create comment logic and concept to not only save the comment, but once it's done saving, send an email to the author. And by utilizing the wrap refactor method, the wrap method refactor method, instead of adding all that logic into one big method where it would be very difficult to test individual pieces I just added, I segmented each of those responsibilities into their own methods, which would now allow me to actually test each one of them individually. And I've just wrapped those two methods inside of my original create comment method. And now, to the outside world, create comment still is the same. Signature didn't change, nothing changed. But internally, it will now save the comment and then send an email. So I hope you learned something today, and until next time.